Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of That Scale RC Show. We are on episode 52 now, and thank you for joining us. I'm one of your hosts, Travis, along with Adam and Jay. How's everyone doing tonight?
Doing good, man.
Well, pretty good. I was waiting to see who was going to jump in
Me
first.
too.
So I was like, okay, well.
That's why I did it, to just try and prevent that altogether.
Funny.
So I decided to return this week because I finished episode 51 today, and I needed to confront you about some lies you told.
Which one of us?
You.
Figures. What?
Yeah.
Just my luck. It's always me.
Yeah. So this guy's spreading misinformation.
Uh-oh. What propaganda have I been shoveling out there?
So you said last week that I drove partway down to Axial Fest, and then you drove the rest of the way, and then you drove the whole way back by yourself.
Yeah, I drove the whole way back, didn't I? Or did we switch and I drove Oregon and you drove California?
Nope. So I drove us from Axial Fest to Chico. You drove us from Chico to Medford, and then I finished us out in Oregon.
Okay.
You took it back over.
Oh, so we switched a lot more than I thought.
Yeah. Mr. Iron Man over here.
Well, I remember driving down. I remember me driving to Chico and from Walmart and driving all those weird back roads it took us to get to Cisco.
Yeah.
But I don't remember like how much of that day I drove. I don't know, because then I've got like the whole one with Jared, and coming back with Jared, I did Iron Man it the entire way home, but that's because he Iron Manned it down there because I had like 3 hours of sleep the night before getting stuff ready.
Right.
But yeah, it's not a fun drive.
No, it's not. It isn't. None of it is.
We had his trailer too, and that thing was kind of like, I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. He'd been, fixing it up and stuff, but like it was just old enough and janky enough to where you're like, I hope we can make it, because like the doors held shut with a bungee cord and stuff. So we're just kind of stressing. Yeah, it made that trip feel about twice as long as it was. Constantly looking back there, making sure that everything's going okay.
Right. No, that makes sense.
And you can't like really haul ass with those tires on those little things either, because they're not really rated for 70 miles an hour and stuff. So
yeah,
you're thinking wheel bearings and all kinds of stuff could possibly go wrong. So
yeah, you guys were probably lucky to make it there at all.
Well, I just realized this. So the truck has 189,000 on it now. I've never replaced a belt on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I'm sitting here thinking about it, driving home from Die Hard the other day. I was like, I should probably do that. And then I was like, well, really, what I should do is get a belt and then get a spare belt so that, things be a little bit prepared if things go south. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it just occurred to me. And like, honestly, just from the crap that we found with that thing after buying it, like I kind of feel like it's probably the original belt, because the previous owners that took care of it probably didn't really think about those things either. So I'm pretty sure that belt is got some miles on it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah. No,
well, if you want to hear about miles.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'll say, if you want to hear about miles, my 94s just rolled 179,000 miles on the way back from the Rubicon to Auburn this last weekend, and I took it out on the trail.
Which is rad, because no shelf queens.
But I do have to admit, it's on its second transmission and second transfer case. It probably would still be on its first transfer case if it wasn't. If I would have used better judgment.
That's another thing I need to do. So I need to get the trans serviced in the rear end too. The transmission, I got a little bit worried the other day. It shifted when I was leaving somewhere, and it was like the faintest little feeling of like a slip when it was shifting. I mean, it shifts hard anyways because of the programmer, because you can like change your shift points and like how firm you want it to shift and stuff. So, I mean, I have it set up to where it shifts kind of firm, but it's like inconsistent sort of when it does that. But like something just didn't feel right about it when it was going first to second. So I need to kind of be a little cautious of that. And the whole
Yeah,
reason why, like,
transmission.
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'll just say transmission issues are never fun. In that same truck, the 94, me and Michelle were going to South Lake Tahoe like 8 years ago now, and yeah, I lost the transmission on the way back down the hill.
I lost the transmission of my Navigator, and we were pulling my 20-foot race trailer on the way back, and it was only about 3.5 hours, but it was like a mountain pass we had to get over and stuff, and so we're out in the middle of nowhere. I can't remember what this place was. It was near McMinnville, Oregon, and we lost the transmission in the Navigator. Yeah, Dayton, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that sucked. So tow truck came, put the truck on the bed, and then hooked up their crazy receiver thing and pulled the trailer to a dealership in Salem, Oregon, and then we had to call a friend to drive 2 hours or whatever it was to come get us, and then rent a car to go back. And oh dude, it was a nightmare. And the whole reason like all of this like travel stuff's in my mind because I've just been thinking lately about like wanting to get out somewhere and stuff, and we keep talking about going over to Idaho to visit Ty and his family and do some crawling over there in McCall, and you know, like check out Tekin and stuff because we've never been to the building or anything like that. So I was thinking that'd be something kind of cool. So, but then all of a sudden these maintenance thoughts started creeping into my mind, and now I'm wondering if it's such a good idea.
Well, once you know that everything's solid and it has a good, clean bill of health,
Yeah.
what can go wrong?
True. Yeah, good point. It's just that's going to be a long drive. Not Axial Fest long, but it'll be fairly long. So, how much are...
Hey,
go ahead, sorry.
I'll say, hey, if my truck with 179,000 miles can do it, I think your Ford can do it. It's about 10 years younger than my truck.
And you held back any Ford jokes just then, too. That whole story, everything I said, like you could have been making Ford jokes and you didn't. You're a good friend, dude. That was really nice of you.
I'd be lying if it didn't, like, you know,
it crossed your
didn't pop up in my head.
Just biting your lip. So yeah, so I'm seeing pictures from your Rubicon trip and stuff, and it looked awesome, and I was super, super jealous, and it looked like a good time and everything. How much, like, RC versus one-to-one stuff did you do?
Well, so for me, it was a little different. Manny from Lit LED, I think alongside with Elio Deanda, put on this event. And basically, I think it was they were trying to bridge the gap since they found out that Axial Fest was canceled. At Donner, they wanted to do something. And the Rubicon, especially in the Northern California area, you really have the Rubicon and Fordyce. Well, Rubicon is a little more friendlier when it comes to getting your normal vehicles there. Fordyce can be very challenging, so I think they chose Rubicon for that reason, and they were actually turning it into like a camp and crawl. So it was actually supposed to be from Thursday to Sunday, I think. So like if you went for the whole time, you would have showed up Thursday, you would have left Sunday. I actually had to work Friday, so I didn't get up there till Saturday. So to answer that question, I did like exactly, I'd say closer to like 70 to 30 RCing versus real crawling. When we first got there, unloaded everything. We hit the trail for like an hour or two with the RC cars. Came back, had lunch, sat around a little bit, then went back out for about another hour or so with the RC cars, and then it was about 3:30, and Elio goes, dude, we gotta get Heavy Chevy out on Rubicon, at least just through Gatekeeper. And I was like, all right. I psyched myself up for it. Let's do it. So took the truck out, went through the trail. It definitely is challenging, and that was just Gatekeeper. Now I know there's like the trail I think is like overall like 15 miles or something like that. I technically only did like maybe a mile to a mile and a half, if that. And yeah, it definitely used my sliders on my truck. I had enough clearance since I'm on 37s that no like belly dragging issues, no bumper hanging on the rear when you're coming off obstacles or anything. So that was good. So to really answer that question, it was more like I said, 70 to 30. Like we did, majority of the day was RC. The last we were out there for maybe half hour, 45 minutes out on the trail. So yeah, it was a lot of fun though.
Right on. No, it looked pretty like a good time. I was pretty jealous of that. I worked out at Die Hard this weekend, got there kind of late Saturday, and it was really cool. Brett wanted to get the buildings put out that his dad had made, and so we spent a bunch of time making like little gravel pads and stuff to set them on and trying to get everything positioned right so that when it rains up here it's not going to like rot the floors or anything in them. So we did that and put in some pretty cool like dirt switchbacks and some other stuff, and then we started camouflaging all the bridges because the we got a bunch of bridges when when that King Crawler's shop went out of business. They brought all their entire course out to us, and so we had this big bridge section that we had just had just enough time to put up last summer and not really do much else to it, and so it kind of sat for most of last year, and we spent a lot of time looking at it and stuff, and kind of we're just deciding like we didn't like it and we're ready to pull it out because just the more natural terrain looking stuff's cool, and so that's kind of what we were trying to go for. But so many people like driving on them, like driving over bridges and little like catwalks and stuff, that are wooden and stuff. So like everybody really enjoys that, and so we kind of realized we couldn't just yank it out because we didn't like looking at it. So we trimmed off all the uprights to where they're all the same height, and then we started camouflaging everything with cedar branches and stuff. And so it's really cool. We've got like these big cedar boughs that are like bent around corners where it goes around a tree and stuff, and like we spent a lot of time on it, but it turned out really cool, and it doesn't stand out nearly as bad anymore. Like the section that we got done really well and thorough, when you're looking at it, it just kind of disappears into the hillside behind it. So we're kind of on the right track as far as making it look a little more, not so out of place, with the rest of the stuff that's out there. So that was
Nice.
fun. Yeah, so I went for a night crawl by myself, and then I broke something when Marcus had joined me. He was Brett and Brenda's nephew. And so, it was just kind of like super quiet evening and stuff, and just did some crawling and stayed the night out there. Then the next morning we kind of buttoned some stuff up, and then Trav and I spent Father's Day doing some drag racing, testing tuning, and that was pretty awesome. So it was a good time.
It was a good day.
Yeah, it definitely was. We got
Yeah,
a lot accomplished.
you just reminded me.
What's that?
Yeah, you just reminded me talking about that. So it was a pretty successful weekend as far as I went out there with the black and gold JK, the yellow Blazer, and Michelle's 2017 JK, the white one that I made to look like her real Jeep.
Mm-hmm.
And all three cars made it back with no carnage. And my full-size truck made it off the trail and back home with no carnage.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was pretty fun. I do got to say, we had all the intention to take her Jeep out on the trail, but after like me driving the truck through, and I'm on 37, she's only on 35s, I was like, I don't have the heart to do that to that thing yet. I just don't want to beat it up. I said maybe if we had a little more body protection, like maybe the flat fenders, and stuff like that. But yeah, I was like, it was kind of rough. I was like, I think we need to work our way up to something like the Rubicon.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was the fenders that were kind of holding you back, because that's really what on hers, like, that's probably the most vulnerable thing, right?
That's really all that's left. We actually flexed it out on a rock just to see like what it would do. And when we stuff the rear, it goes all the way up into the fender, and it just starts to contact it. So I was like, those tires might tear those things off because they're just the stock plastic ones. So we just were like, we got it here. We did take it, obviously it was in four-wheel drive, and we disconnected the sway bar and all that stuff to drive out onto the slabs, but we just left it at that. We were like, yeah, not really going to push it. Because, we saw some pretty cool vehicles that went through, and then we saw some vehicles that were just going, there's no way that thing's going to make it anywhere. And, of course, it comes back, and it does not look like it did when it left. So you're just like, yeah, we might wait a little bit.
Yeah. Probably not the...
But, yeah, I was...
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the only thing I missed out was doing any kind of a nighttime run.
Yeah, the night stuff's pretty fun. That's like a whole new, I don't know. Like, if somebody's wanting to kind of mix things up crawler-wise, like, go on a night run. Like, that's definitely, like, a new experience. Like, it's, I don't know. It's just kind of its own cool thing, Like, get a bunch of people together and you're out and, like, everything looks different and temperatures are usually colder, So, I don't know. It's just super fun driving at night sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm sending you the picture of your new build right now.
Oh, yeah? Another new build?
Yep, another new build. I keep doing this to you. But I wanted to talk about it on here because it is definitely something that you would probably do. Okay, so... Oh, it's a GMC, though. Is that close enough for you?
It's still the same family, GM.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure how hardcore Chevy you were, like Chevy bow tie tattoo or just General Motors in general. Okay,
No, I'm definitely... Well, hey, remember, my truck before the Duramax was a GMC.
Oh, yeah, it was, huh? You get it yet? I sent it to the group chat.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Do you remember that truck?
No, I don't remember it, but
I used to see it all over Instagram. But the one with the Rockstar stickers, that's got to be kind of an older picture because it had the Rockstar stuff on it, and at the time the fenders were cut out just freaking giant. Just huge. More like the one above it where it's got the Discount Tire stickers on it instead of Rockstar.
Well, you can also tell that in that other picture, it's got Nitto mud grapplers, and on this one, it looks like it's got Nitto trail grapplers with the Discount Tire.
The trail grapplers look a lot bigger, too. Oh, and he's got, like, raceline wheels on the bottom one and stuff. I don't know, I just thought it was cool, because you don't see a whole lot of, like, full-size rigs like yours or this thing, It's like Jeeps and little trucks,
Yeah, well... He definitely has some stuff I want to do to my truck because I still have some vulnerable spots on, especially being that it's a truck. You have the whole issue of when you're coming off of an obstacle, you still got to remember you got your hitch and your bumper back there, that it's got to come down. So this one, the truck he sent me, he's got like a tubular bumper with like corner guards, and the bed past the wheel well, like going towards the tailgate, has been cut, which is kind of something I need to do. Like if I finish transforming mine into, more rock crawler off-roading status, I need to do some stuff similar to this.
That's such a huge commitment, though, chopping the bed, dude. Oh my god, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, well, I actually stopped by my buddy's house on the way home Sunday and was talking to him about some stuff, and he gave me kind of a cool idea. It's going to be something similar to kind of like what that corner guard is, but he said when you do the bumper, kind of disguise that that's going to be there, and then use the upper part to like chop the bed, so that way you don't really notice it unless like you look down past between the tube and stuff.
Right.
So he's got some cool ideas. It's just one of those things. I have to commit to it and just start doing it if I'm gonna, go that next step.
Does a picture of that GMC at least make you a little bit excited to do that, though?
Yeah.
That thing's pretty sweet.
So I could do something like that if I can find that body.
Yeah, that would be the tough part. That or have Todd print one out for you.
Well, the funny thing is, I actually do have a 90s Chevy, which is like what's funny is, or not 90s, early 2000s, like 99 and 2000. So it's like funny when Chevy switched over to the more rounded front end, and same with GMC. GMC kept that same style from like '01 to '07, where Chevy in '03 started changing it a little bit more than how it was from '99 to '03, and then in '04 or '05 they introduced the cat eye and ran that all the way till 2007. So it's kind of like Chevy had like 3 variations where GMC kind of stayed the same from '99 to 2007.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. But what I was getting at was I do have a like 99 2000 Chevy body. I acquired it in a trade, and I just wanted it because it was a Chevy body. But the problem is it's a small, like I want to say it's like a 1/12
Oh, yeah.
scale, maybe. It's just a smidge small because like, okay, I put the standard like 4.35, I think was what they were, not the small, but standard pit bulls next to it, and they still look like you were running 2.2s.
Oh,
it was like ridiculous. So I'm sure like a 1.5, like you could probably put a certain 1.5 on it, and it would probably still look like you're running like big 1.9s.
Oh, no kidding. That sucks. It's just totally wrong then.
Yeah, so it sucks. I still have the body, so I'm holding on to it for now because it's like can't make up my mind what I want to do with it. But yeah.
I saw a crazy thing one day up here, and it struck me as weird because it had just stock wheels on it, no, awesome tires or anything like that. Just nothing stood out. It was just a very stock looking. Let's see. This would have been I want to say it was a Suburban, but they had taken and put the cat eye front end on it. And usually if somebody's going to go to all that trouble, you would see like 22s or something on it, or, they would at least do something. But like, it was like just this totally just stock vehicle, but it just had this super rad, unless you were into that sort of thing, it had this super rad cat eye front end on it. And it looked really, really cool. It may have been a Tahoe.
Well, I actually have a cat eye body that I was working on. Maybe I should finish working on that. That was like supposed to be my first like true scale. I was doing a 3-link in the front and leaf sprung in the rear.
Oh wow!
But just never finished doing it. I mean, it's one of those things that's still sitting there, like one of my many unfinished projects.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we should touch on the fact that last weekend we took the week off last Wednesday, so we skipped an episode.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because Trav and I went drag racing, and it was pretty rad. It was a lot of fun. So that's why we skipped the episode, but it also gave us something to talk about tonight, though, so that's good.
So you guys both blew me off instead of just one of you blowing me off like the previous week.
I know all the hate that I get the previous episode. And then for him to only go out and do the same thing.
And then we're doing this on a Tuesday so that we can go do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, basically.
It is really fun, and if you're listening to this and you haven't really considered checking out no prep drag racing, you should probably do it. If you just even remotely enjoy RC cars, you should probably at least check it out. It is seriously fun. We've had an absolute ball doing it.
Well, it's actually pretty funny. So, Highway 1 RC showed up for the event this weekend at Rubicon, and he's like unloading some stuff out of his rig, and he pulls out his drag car, and I go, there's not one flat surface around here, so I don't know what you're doing. And he was like, oh, I was just trying to show my buddy, I wasn't gonna run it. I was busting up, I was just giving him a hard time.
We've had a few guys that have talked about putting paddles on them and want to do sand drags, but I don't know if that'll happen. It's all fun till you have to go and clean it all up.
I did get some drag, no prep drag stuff in the mail while I was gone.
Oh, did you? What'd you get?
I got those. I guess I don't know what they actually call them. The inner wheel liners or the inner tire liners from RC Bombshells.
Right. Yeah.
So those showed up. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, like, it actually, like, when you look at it, you're like, wow, this is such a simple item, but it makes a huge difference.
Well, that's kind of what we're running into, is the fact that
yeah, because like if you know like what happens when you put big power to these tires, they start to balloon out, and sometimes like that'll undo the glue, that'll undo all kinds of stuff, and it'll actually blow out your tires because you're trying to run them on the ground, and it's doing that with all that power and being like what I call pizza cutter mode, and it like balloons them out, and it kind of just destroys your tires really quick. So this item it replaces, like, I guess the people, because I've seen Tyler do it, where you actually put duct tape on the inside of the tire, and that's supposed to help. But I mean, if you go to RC Bombshells and you look, I think he's got it on there, or if it's on his Facebook, it's one of the two, but if you watch the video, he's got one tire mounted up on his slash with no inner tire liner, and he has one of his on the other side. There's like literally almost no bulging when he guns it on the side that he has the tire liner on, whereas the side that doesn't, the tire grows like 3 inches.
Interesting, because I was wondering if the tire is still going to grow just due to its own mass, or if it's just all foam that's causing it.
It's no, well, because this liner goes in between the foam, like, so basically you're putting it on the outside of the foam.
Yeah, it's like putting a rubber band around your tire foam.
Yeah, so, but I mean, it looks promising, so I said, okay, now I gotta unglue the rear tires on my drag car and get that installed.
Well, I'll let him explain, but this is actually something that we can talk about because it's something Travis is running into with his car right now, and that's the ballooning of the tires. And believe it or not, there's actually, like, in certain circumstances, there can be some benefit to it, but in Trav's case, it's something that he's trying to definitely, like, work away from, so I'll let him kind of explain.
Oh, there's not much to explain. It's been hell. I mean, really, I mean, yeah, the easy principle is that, like, a non-belted tire, it grows more than a belted, so you gain more mile an hour at the big end of the straight. But if you have a system like mine, which I have the Tekin RS Pro and the 4.5 Eliminator, if you have a system like mine that just puts down stupid power, that just absolutely churns through the tires and turns them into pizza cutters, like Adam said, then that it becomes a little problematic at that point, and then you've got a car that wants to take off. You've got an airplane. So the benefit of the the benefit of the belteds in turn is that you get a much more consistent carcass, but you don't get the growth out of it. So you lose the speed, but the car is a lot more consistent. It might not launch quite as easy, though. That's like the other trade-off too.
I'd just like to point out, you said carcass, and that was super metal of you.
Sick.
Sick. No, but yeah. So we were talking about getting belted ones, and of course, everybody's out of them right now. And then wheels came into stock, and then wheels are out now. It's like you hesitate for even half a day, and you can't get stuff. So this is obviously something that's just going crazy right now nationwide.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy what's happening. So,
and just to
gotta jump on
clarify what's happening with Travs with the ballooning of the tires. So, first of all, I don't know what people are doing putting some of these systems in unless they have like perfect conditions to run on, because a 5.5 and then Trav's 4.5 Eliminator, like, dude, they're so ungodly fast. Like, I can't even imagine trying to control something else. And, you know, we're running them at like 85, 90%. So, I mean, they're not, you know, these are like turned down, you know, ESC and motor combos. And what's crazy is what's happening with Travs is it's ballooning the tires so bad near the end of the straightaway that it's making the car lift higher off the ground, like backwards on the wheelie bar. And like, it gets to a certain tipping point, and the sides, like where the doors of the car are, that the sides of the body, it gets to a certain point where they flare out sideways, and it catches all this wind underneath. And the car, like, no kidding, you probably did what, 3 perfect backflips, like landing on your wheels on Sunday?
Yeah.
Like, no kidding, like perfect backflip up in the air, lands on its wheels and tires again, and keeps going. It was crazy. But yeah, like it gets to a certain height when they're ballooned out, and then it just rips the body backwards, and then that's when everything goes bad. So I think, I mean, really, like what Adam's talking about, or running belted ones, that's really about your only option to try and tune a problem like that out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of looking at really a different wing and splitter at this point. This is the unfortunate route that I may have to go if I can't prevent that from happening.
Well, I don't know when we're going to be able to get tires, so I was honestly kicking around the idea of baking them in the oven, and I was going to do the duct tape trick for now and see if that does any good. But
I don't know. I don't think it would be.
Don't think it's worth the trouble?
I don't know if that's worth. I don't think that's worth the trouble, no. I mean, it works well enough as it is. Fortunately for me, as it sits right now, is that most of my aerodynamic problems happen after the line now. Whereas when I had the octane body, it was before. So there is progress. So what I really need to be doing is the second that I cross the line, I just need to be just full brake and try and lock it up as quick as I can.
It's kind of hard to judge sometimes, though. Like, driving behind your car in a straight line is so different than being on a driver's stand. You know, it's like, for me, I feel like I almost have, like, less control over it because I can't see, you know, the car from different angles. Like, I don't know, it's weird. It's a really, really different kind of driving.
Yeah. No, that is true.
You know,
a lot of new stuff being learned.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know what gets me, though, is like I'm surprised that the tire didn't grow with those bands. Because wouldn't you kind of think that the tire itself would balloon somewhat, too?
I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, theoretically.
And they're not adhesive or anything, Adam?
Why.
It stays pretty, like if you watch the video, like I said, if I can find it and share it to our stuff so that way people can see it, like if you watch it, it is insane the amount of difference you see between the two sides. You're like, wow.
There's no adhesive though, right?
No. Okay. It's a 3D printed item.
Okay, gotcha. Wow.
Well, it's 3D printed out of some flexible rubbery compound.
Yeah, probably TPU. That's what the like UC Fab window nuts are made out of.
So, but yeah, no, I mean, it's like I said, it's pretty cool. And I think he said it takes like 5 hours to print one of those rings.
Oh, I don't know.
And he's like, it was something He said it was something that he came up with, and ever since he's released it, he can't keep them in stock. I know Tim Smith has already ordered some, Tyler's ordered some, Todd Solitero, I think, has ordered some. I mean, all the big names have already ordered them.
It makes sense. I mean, it's so obviously like this is an RC wide issue, you know, with having the tires balloon. It's not just a drag thing, but a long time ago, I haven't seen them in a long time, but MIP used to have these adhesive strips to kind of accomplish the same thing, but it was trying to do it from the inside. So on your wheel, you would put this adhesive strip around it, and then you'd put the foam on. So you're essentially like double stick taping the foam to your wheel to prevent it from ballooning. But the way that you're talking, you know, with the ones that Bombshells made, it's capturing the foam, and so it's like containing it rather than trying to like hold it and be continuously having the foam like trying to pull away from it from centrifugal force. So
pretty much.
Yeah.
But I don't, it's been a long time since I've seen anybody use the MIP things, or even those like being offered. Maybe it just didn't really last. There's a lot of good ideas that happen in a flash in the pan sometimes. Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is now that, you know, these like this inner tire liner thingy has come out, I wonder how many other people will attempt to make the same thing.
I kind of hope they don't. You know, like, I don't know. The dude's got a great idea. I think it's really smart, and I think that would suck if somebody else jumped on board and was like, oh, I can do that too, you know. But that's, you know, we see that a lot in RC. It's just kind of how it is. But
yeah,
poor Tim Smith, man.
Do you really want to get into that?
There was one thing I just wanted to touch on, and I don't know if this will even
Getting into that.
What?
No, we're getting into it. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to touch on the fact, and like hopefully this will resonate with people. NPRC is an organization, and they have their established set of rules, and they make changes to the rules, and it's all voted on, you know, by a committee of many people. And there's like, what, 60 NPRC chapters?
I don't know, probably more than that now. I'd have to look.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I guess I can find out, but close to that.
To be an NPRC chapter, you have to abide by their rule set, okay? And the benefit of that is that if you travel from race to race, everybody's got the same set of rules. You know, you don't have, you know, sauce allowed at one track and not the other, and, you know, pro mod bodies versus, you know, normal, like, you know, street eliminator style bodies. So it's trying to keep some continuity for people that want to race in the hobby and plan on going to different areas. Cause I mean, that's kind of part of the appeal is like, hey, let's go check out, you know, the whatever guys and see how fast they are compared to our local group and stuff like that. And so it's, you know, it's something that kind of levels the playing field. You don't have to abide by those rules if you don't want to, though. Like, you don't have to be an NPRC chapter to do your thing and have fun. Like, it is just a sanctioning body and a set of rules to keep things consistent for guys that are taking it seriously and they want to travel. If you want to allow 3S batteries at your local track or whatever, big giant wings, and, you know, that's fine. You guys can do that. No one's telling you that you can't. You absolutely can. It's just if you want to be part of that organization and fall under their banner, then that's the rule set you abide by. I think they're really good rules, personally, but it's not. You can still.
Okay, well,
go ahead.
I think we need background.
Yeah.
Because there's something for this. Okay, so as Jay mentioned before, the NPRC rules are proposed and voted on by a committee of people. It is probably close to 60-ish people. Okay, like this is all a very big community effort through the people involved in this group. The people involved in this group are the people who represent their respective chapters of the NPRC. Okay, so it's not just the Tim and Tyler show and they're making their own rules. That's not what's happening. I know this because I'm one of those people voting on those rules. So there is a rule set that is coming out very soon. I don't have a timeline on it, but the rules are changing. And these rules came up for vote very recently, this whole rule set. Okay, and like for one thing that like really bugged me is that this group is a private group for a reason. There's only one person from each respective chapter in this group, and it's a private group, a private discussion to discuss the rules privately until they became the official rule set of the NPRC. All right. Someone decided that they wanted to leak those rules before they were ever officially closed for voting. Someone leaked them to someone out in I don't know what group it is, a 707 or something. And I don't even know who the guy is, but apparently this has been a big saga going up to this point. And claims that all these people are contacting him about Tim Smith's new rule set and that how it's trying to make things easier for him because he's slow and he can't win and all of this. And so, Tim's rules are ruining drag racing and no prep for everyone around the country and just all this absolute garbage. Okay. Now, the thing is like where people are upset, and you'll see like when these rules come out, is that like we are having to get more specific about things because if you give people a vague rule set, what happens? They abuse it, and a lot of stupid things are starting to happen, like body modifications that shouldn't be happening and things like that. Okay, so we tried it the simple way. Now we have to get more specific because we're trying to keep the purity of the no prep RC racing. Okay, so now there's a lot of discussion happening in this particular group about people being upset about this and saying, well, we can't do this and we should do that. If we're going to have this, we need another class and everything else. I'm just like, look, just like you touched on, it's like, look, the NPRC is a rule set. No one said it had to be the rule set. Okay? I enforce NPRC at our track locally because there are 4 chapters within, like 3 or 4 chapters within 4 hours of us. Okay? And we have a cash days coming up on the 11th from the South Seattle group. Okay, they're hosting one. So it benefits us and everyone else around us if we're all in the same rule set. Because then we can go to each other's tracks and be competitive. If you're going to someone else's track and racing pro mods, they're racing pro mods there essentially. And all sorts of crazy aerodynamic stuff is happening and different car rules and things like that. And there's not even a good class for yours to fit in, well, then how is that going to work? Why did you even go? You wasted the trip. Okay, and then those guys can't come to whatever events you hold. If you hold a cash days or they just want to come visit your local track on a weekly race, they can't show up and be legal at your race. Okay, so it makes sense. Now, if you're in the middle of Montana and you're the only drag racing group in Montana, then it's completely up to you if you want to be a part of the NPRC or not. You know what you lose and what the NPRC loses if you decide to not be an NPRC member? Absolutely nothing. You can do all of the things that you want to do and all the things you're complaining you can't do. You can do those. You just won't be an NPRC track. That's all that means. So I don't understand why... Number one, I don't understand why we can't just keep something cool the way it is and not just tear the ass out of it like we have to somehow ruin it. We have a great thing going, something super easy and simple that we tried to keep racers responsible for themselves and for their scene, and people couldn't be held to that kind of accountability, so now we have to do what we're doing now. Yeah. So if you don't like that, that's fine. Just don't be an NPRC track. Yeah, and don't expect to show up to an NPRC event and be legal. It's that simple. It's a really simple thing, and it's a really stupid issue. And honestly, from what I've been seeing, this guy's had it out for Tim for quite a while. So, this is just part of that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just it's silly to me. It's
Well,
silly that this is even an issue.
yeah, it should be just such a common sense issue that it's just not even a discussion. It's like, well, if you guys don't want to adhere to them, fine. And as you explained, this is, what you can expect if you don't, which whatever. If you want to race four-wheel drive slashes at your local track on 3S batteries, then, and sauce your tires, or go right ahead. I mean, like Trav said, you're not going to be a NPRC track, if you're not using their rule set, but that doesn't mean that you can't go and do your thing and have fun. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's
No one is saying that.
yeah, it's such a goofy thing to even be upset over, and like the claims were that he was making were so outlandish. I mean, it just, I don't know. It had hungry for attention written all over it.
Yeah, like I said, I guess it's been something that's been going on for a while now, but I mean, it's just I don't understand it. Like,
I just feel bad
it
for
doesn't
Tim,
have to be
dude.
one way.
Like, he just takes
Yeah,
such a
I do.
beating from everybody, and it's like, I don't understand the whole internet philosophy of, I'm this anonymous person and I can pretend to be the smartest there is about whatever field if I feel like it, because it's virtually just all presentation at that point. So it's like, why be the guy that, wants to be the know-it-all and stuff, when there's people out there that clearly have more experience. And it just, I don't know, it's goofy. It makes no sense whatsoever.
It's a strange thing, but anyways, yeah, that's what's going on. So
Yeah. But
that's it.
yeah, locally, like you said, at our area, we use that rule set, and what's awesome about that is we can go and race at other chapters, and our cars are legal, and they can come hang out with us, and their cars are legal, and everybody has fun that way. I mean, it's super, super simple. But
Yeah, yeah. I mean, people may not like that, I'm imposing the rule set of a big, like a big rule set, and we're not tailoring it to ourselves, but I mean, it's just this is to benefit the community as a whole, and that community is beyond our track.
well, I think this
So
is
I don't.
I think it's a good time for these changes to be made before guys get super enthusiastic and start throwing money at a bunch of stuff that they're not going to be able to
Well,
use.
that's what's happening. That's what's happening. People are starting to get really creative, for lack of a better term, and that's what spurred this on. And normally, the NPRC rules are supposed to be changed annually, but with the delay in racing this year, and that there's still a lot of races to be had throughout the rest of the year, it benefits everybody if this rule set is out early
Oh yeah.
and spread, and everyone abide to this, especially since before people start throwing money at stuff, and
Well, because I
all of a
just
sudden their car's not legal. I mean, they're going to be bummed, understandably, and that's why
yeah.
I really can't wait for this rule to come out, because I know we got a lot of people in our group alone that are chomping at the bit to do stuff with wheelie bars, and it's like I can't tell you what it's going to be, but I would strongly recommend against doing whatever you're about to do.
yeah,
Just until you read
hold
something.
off, yeah. And and it's to
I can't
prevent
shut that enough.
well, and it's to prevent any kind of blowout too. Like, the sooner that we have that established rule set at our track, because of, like, our local scene is growing weekly, it seems like, and so before anybody's started to build stuff, and then someone, the race director has to be the bad guy by saying, hey man, I'm sorry, you can't run that because it doesn't fall within the rules, then that person's upset and they don't want to come back or whatever. So I mean, it's rules are a good thing to have, and it's to prevent hurt feelings and blowouts and stuff like that.
And I guess I should disclaim that before I scare anybody and they're starting to wonder if their car is going to be illegal now, it's not like a huge restructure to the rules. There's just a lot more specifications and nuances that you have to follow. More just restrictions, really, as far as what you can and can't do with the car. That's what it's coming down to. Like, it's not your normal NPRC car is not all of a sudden going to become illegal, so don't worry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, the sooner this comes out, the better. But like I said, there's this whole discussion going on right now about all of this that is putting a delay to that. So we'll see, but hopefully we find out soon, so that way everyone can kind of get their ducks in a row and figure out if they're going to be an NPRC track or not.
Somebody had reposted that Tim post to the Die Hard scale page, and I took it down, and it was just like, no, we don't need that kind of drama here. No one's talking about it. We don't need to post it to try and create the discussion. So if anyone's wondering why I deleted it, that's why, because we don't need to beat that dead horse all over again.
Yeah, someone in that group sent it to me, and then I sent it to Tim. So I don't know where it originally started, but eventually it made its way to Tim. But my favorite thing is that in the guy's post, after basically just calling Tim out for everything and anything,
for being alive, why do you exist?
For being alive. At the bottom of it, the picture is the "Run Your Car, Not Your Mouth" logo,
which is comedy.
It's that's just
wait a second.
Irony on a plate. Yeah.
Run's mouth.
I thought that was super funny.
Well, the dude spelled damn D-A-M-B. So that I have never seen spelling like that. That killed me when I saw that. I thought that was great. I was like, D-A-M-B, huh? Okay. Man, the mental midgets of Facebook.
We could probably. Okay, real quickly, and then we'll get to the question. We could probably market on that. Could probably come up with on your little scale sticker things. We can do a drag series, and we can do #blame Tim Smith.
That would be great. I already have one bumper sticker that says you were faster on Facebook, so we can add some other stuff to that.
Well, I mean, it is ridiculous because it's kind of the same thing. I had a guy actually up at the Rubicon was talking to me about he wants to start making a Class 2 rig, and I was just honest. I said, that whole thing, Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, whatever, I said, you can call it whatever you want, but if you're not going to anything that is a SORCA event, there's no need to follow any of those guidelines, unless you're trying to do it for yourself.
Yeah,
I was trying to make that clear. Yeah, I was just trying to make it clear because I was like, just because you call it a Class 2, it's if all you do is go hit the trail, why are you going to say, yeah, I'm going out, trailing with my Class 2? Well, that's cool. You're labeling it that. People can understand that that's the, I guess the base of your build that or the parameters of the build you tried to stay in. But I mean, if you're not really going out and using it to that,
yeah, no.
I'm trying to think of the word to say. You're not using it to its full benefits. So it's kind of why are you sticking to a parameter that really doesn't pertain to it?
You're putting your build in a box that way when you don't really need to. I mean, it's
Which is, like I said, when I was listening to you guys talk about it, it's when we did the drag racing down at JJ Customs, I made it clear in our rules that we will be following NPRC rules. That was it. It doesn't mean that if your rig doesn't follow NPRC, you couldn't come out. It just meant if you wanted to race for the cash prize, you couldn't if you weren't NPRC, in the guidelines for that.
Yeah. We kind of fought that early on with people wanting to race their Arma 27S buggy against no prep cars and stuff, and it seems like that's kind of started to die down, which is nice. We're not having people not really understand what the essence is of the whole no prep thing, but one of the things that I like about these rules happens to be what I hate about SORCA is they're trying to maintain the purity of it, no pro mod bodies, run street eliminator bodies, keep it realistic looking, don't dilute it. And that's the direction it's going, and people don't want to see it lose that purity and that scale realism that made it attractive in the first place. And that's kind of the thing that I don't like about SORCA is the Class 2 and Class 3 rigs do not look realistic whatsoever. They're built according to a rule book, and they, build it exactly to these rules so that they can get their maximum amount of points before they ever drive the thing. And they're just these little tiny bodies and everything, and like it looks stupid. And so that's what I'm hoping doesn't happen, and I think that's what everybody's big push is. We don't want to see that happen and lose that realism that we have with the no prep stuff, because that's what makes it cool, at least for me. If it turns into cars that all look like Arma spaceships or something, then I'm not going to be into it, and I'm not going to want to do it anymore. It's the same thing that drew me to scale stuff, and it's, I don't know.
Well,
I just don't want to see that go away.
The best way, and this is really where I'm just going to leave it, the best way to describe it is, it's like, look at the, what is it, NRAH or NRHA, whatever the heck and I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for not knowing it, but, the real racing
NHRA.
rules. Yeah, there you go, NHRA. I knew I had the 4 letters there, I just didn't know.
There's a lot of acronyms in our world, dude. Don't worry about it.
So, it's like, if everybody that wanted to run one of those events, if they started like complaining, it's like, then why are you trying to do it? If you want to create your own thing or want to do it your way, that's fine. Just, do it with your stuff and say, hey, we're having an event and it's run what you brung. It doesn't matter what it is, and this is what it is. If you're coming here, we're going to be following these guidelines, and that's it. I mean, basically what it's come down to is, and I've kind of thought about this for a long time, Facebook should rename their name to My Soapbox, because that's really all it is. Everybody gets on there, they say their opinion, which is fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Just don't expect anyone
but just
to
remember,
care.
That's what I'm saying. It's your opinion. Not that it matters. Just like us, we're doing this show. These are our opinions. It doesn't mean that we expect everybody to agree with us.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't know. It's just silly. The whole thing's so silly. I just hope that it stays scale. That's my thing. I just want it to stay scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. If this all goes through correctly, it will. So,
which is rad. I think that'd be
fingers
cool.
crossed.
Yeah, definitely.
Fingers crossed. All right, questions time?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, we have lots of them.
Do we really? That's what we get for skipping a week.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess so. A lot of people are waiting. All right, so the first one is from Andre Campos. No question, that Jeep you posted with the gold roll cage is awesome. Is that fool's gold? Question for Adam Dean.
Interesting. He said no question, but it was a question for me. Yes, that is fool's gold. That is the nickname I gave it just because it was a lot of fake gold on that rig. The wheels are powder coated gold. I spray painted the roll cage with gold spray paint, and when Jay did the wrap, he used a gold flake. So it wasn't like it was actually gold, so I called it fool's gold. Thought it was kind of clever, but yeah, that's that Jeep.
Because gold is
Nice.
your jam.
Mm-hmm.
Gold's cool. Gold's cool.
Wait till you see what your Capra
Dylan Hunter.
is going to look like.
Oh, man.
The thing I showed you today, that's perfect for your Capra, dude.
Well, hey, whenever you want to get it done.
Sounds good.
All right, Dylan Hunter, I know I sent this in message, but just checking to see if you have plans for a show or video idea. Do a basics on tuning, this is the idea. Do a basics on tuning for people new to the crawling scene, like what a larger pinion would do or a smaller spur. Why you choose oil weight or no oil. Type of shock setups like droop setups. The over/under drive. Stuff like that could really spark the newer people on that stuff. I wouldn't say go super in depth, but like saying a smaller pinion gives more acceleration, or a 5-slot motor is more torquey than a 3-slot, and maybe an example of when it would be good to use either or. You know what I mean, or did I do a bad job explaining? LOL.
No, I think that's great.
No, I see what you mean. Yeah.
No, we definitely.
Well, I mean,
should.
no, he explained it well. The only thing I have to say about it is, I mean, realistically, what he's talking about is on YouTube already. I mean, if people want to see us do it, that's one thing. But I mean, that's kind of why, you know, I kind of stay away from some of those like repetitive videos, because I mean, there's so many videos on YouTube that if you just start searching, you'll find a lot of this stuff. But I mean, if you'd like to see us do it, I guess, yeah, we could possibly start something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really done a whole lot of tech stuff. I mean, like our last SOR live broadcast, we got pretty technical with things, but I don't know. It just one of the things that takes the
We
fun out
did.
of it is, yeah, with the EPX, we were talking about
Oh,
geometry and stuff, and I mean, that
yeah.
was probably a
Okay,
little
right.
more advanced, because we're talking like link geometry and stuff, but I don't know. I haven't done any of the basic stuff just because there's always some dude that's gonna, oh, you're wrong. That's not, So it just seems to invite argument. So that's why I haven't bothered with it. So nobody's gonna listen anyways. You're gonna tell them what to do, and they're gonna go do the exact opposite anyhow. So
Well, there's that. Oh,
yeah.
that reminded me. I did something new with my radio this week that I wanted to kind of talk about as well.
Oh yeah.
Uh, yeah, let me touch on that just real quick. I made that video a couple weeks ago now, talking about changing the R mode or the throttle profile on my radio so I could kind of make like a mock transmission of like a 2-speed. So with the old Gen 4 modified 5.5 motor, I had it set up as a 85% and then 100% is what I set, throttle profile 1 to 85, and then I kind of shift onto 100. Well, the Eliminator is a hell of a motor, so I had to really bring all of that down. So I set it to 4 profiles instead of 2, and I have it set up at 65, 73, like 65, 73, 80, and 88 is what it's all set up at now for each one. So I click it, into second, into third, into fourth, and then back to first again, pretty much.
That is so
Is
cool.
how I'm doing it right now, just to keep my car, not throwing too much power down. If I got a good hit, 'cause it's kind of nice because then I can kind of gauge if the hit feels good enough that I feel comfortable shifting to the next one. Because then all of a sudden, it's I don't want to say it's a burst, but the power doesn't like ramp up from that point. It just appears, so you can shift up, and sometimes then when you shift it, your car will lose it a little bit. Excuse me. So, which I might even be able to prevent that too, but it's kind of nice that you can sort of bail out and keep a good run together and not throw it away because you were trying to throw too much power down. So I did like that. So that helped me a lot. So maybe I need to update that video or make a part 2 or something kind of explaining what I'm doing. Maybe I need to do that at Die Hard.
You should, because that's actually really cool.
Yeah, next time we go out for a test and tune, then maybe I'll do that.
Yeah, that would be pretty neat. I'd definitely be down to help you with that. I can't believe the power of this stuff. That's what gets me. I mean, I saw a guy today, the DR10 page. Like, if you're looking for some like entertainment, go to the DR10 page because it is wild these days. There's a dude there that has a 2.5 that he's putting in his car that he's running on a 3S, and it's like, I don't know where he's racing, but more power to him. But I mean, oh my god, I can't even imagine. Like, my car's got that Gen 4 5.5, and I have the thing turned down to 85% just so I can drive it, and that's on a low grip surface. So I mean, I don't know. There's that. There was another dude today who had like stripped out gears in his transmission and stuff. It's like, what are you guys doing? Like, there haven't been any transmission failures that we've seen at our track.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, no. Like what, a spur gear or two, I think, is all that's happened so far. There hasn't been a lot of carnage at all. Like, I don't know. It just kind of surprises me the problems that people have, and just like, my God, what are you guys doing to these cars?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the next question we can move on to, this is a good one. I've been waiting for people to ask this for a while. Is that Donnie Clark asks, why is it the Vitara Ascender platform doesn't get the love that the others do? Also, why does the Suburban get scrutinized for its scale appearance?
Because it looks silly.
Oh, you were nicer than I was.
It looks like somebody put a Hot Wheels body on a 10th scale truck.
Okay, here's the problem.
I'm missing something here. What body is this?
It's the green
The
Vitera
Suburban.
RTR Suburban. That is like it
Mhm.
looks like a hearse.
The
Is
wheel
what it
wells.
looks like.
The wheel wells are ginormous.
Yeah.
If you look at the hood line to where the front wheel well is, the wheel well arch goes almost all the way up to the hood line. It's like, what? I don't know. That's my
Dude, it's bad. It's really bad. Like you look at the axial Blazer and C10 body, which is like really accurate, and then you look at this thing and you're like, what were they thinking? I mean, it would
yeah,
have
it
like
is.
77-inch tires on it if it was a real truck. Like it's just terrible.
Wow.
it's
When did
bad.
this
And
come
okay,
out?
Year or so ago.
Years
Is it even? This is not new. Okay.
I don't know what's going to
Kinda
happen
figured.
with Vitera, just because that is definitely
Well,
like the
that's kinda
redheaded
what I wanted
stepchild
to-
to Axial.
Well, that's why I was waiting for someone to ask about it, because there was a time where like we went out crawling to Cap Sandy, and it was the OG SCX and the Ascender, and the Ascender would kill it.
Dude, the Ascender's a
people were like, oh.
solid rig. Like set up right,
The Ascender was a super capable rig.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like they were really, really good.
Yeah.
The problem is it's just the SCX 10.2 was all of that and more, and that's why it took off, basically. I mean,
Yeah.
the chassis mounted servo, I can't remember if the Vitera has a high pinion or not. I don't remember.
Yeah. I mean, really, like what I would just assume from this point is that Vitera's dead, at least in the crawling world.
Yeah, their drift cars and stuff
You know what
like
I mean?
that may continue. But this is purely speculation
Yeah, but
too. I mean, we got to point that out.
Yeah, it is, but it also doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have them continue to release Ascenders while they've got Axial going. I mean, they would want to. Yeah, they have been and are going to continue to try and make Axial, more imposing. So
Yeah, I mean,
It doesn't-
you don't want to sell against yourself. That isn't smart,
well, yeah, you don't want to sell against yourself, because then
We have
they could end up
3,000
deciding
Ascenders,
you're-
and we knew that they were less superior than the Axial rig, but we're gonna do it anyways. So
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I guess I could
in their time,
find out.
in their time, they were the shit. They were a good truck.
No, they were. They really were. They were, out of the box, some of the most capable rigs I'd ever seen,
Yep.
for sure. Yeah, but I can't imagine we'll ever see an Ascender come back.
Especially
Be pretty
after
surprised.
That body would be a huge comeback if they could bounce back.
I've never
from
seen
that. It's bad.
I've never seen that body before. I can't believe that.
But what really hurts
I think
about it is the
not
fact
good.
that they have all those injection molded pieces for like the grill and everything, and it's got lights. Like they put a ton of
That's
effort
the
into
unfortunate
something
part
that's
of it.
terrible.
Yeah, they put a ton of money into the development of this body and the manufacturing of it. Like, this is not cheap. And there were so many things that were wrong with it instantly. Like, when I was laughing about it, I couldn't even pick out like one particular thing.
It looks
the
like a
whole
hearse,
thing was
dude.
just funny.
It's a lifted
It does
hearse.
look like a hearse. Yeah.
Paint it
I
flat
don't-
black and like a coffin on the side and some upside down crosses, and you can have your goth crawler. That's about all
It
that
looked
thing is
like-
good for.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. That its existence is unfortunate, really. That's just what it comes down to.
That's the nicest way of saying something horrible that I have ever heard.
wow.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Well, Donnie, I hope we answered your question.
Sorry
So-
if
Well,
it wasn't
hopefully
what you wanted to
it's-
hear, Donnie. If you have it and you like it, more power to you, dude. Don't listen to us.
It's like, what the hell, man?
This is just our
Oh.
opinions, and we are well aware that our opinions only matter to us, and that's it.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, this is that Scale RC show.
It is, and at the end of the
And-
day, you're the one looking at that ugly ass truck on your shelf.
I'm not even sure my rack is long enough for that truck. Like, I don't know if I can fit it on my rack here.
Oh, yeah. You know, not everything's a 10.
Yeah, we better move on. Scooter Scott, He asks, do you have man's best friend? Dog. If so, do you take them with you when you go on a peaceful trail run?
No, because my dog died, so thanks for bringing that up, Scott. I really appreciate it. That's exactly what I wanted to think about right now.
No, I did not.
He's
have a
like, yeah,
dog.
kidding.
Yeah, I know. I don't think our dog would have had the attention span for it, but
I don't think he would have cared. Man, just would have stayed there. Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
My dogs are far away from that, so
I would actually
probably not.
pay money to see you try and drive a crawler course with your 2 dogs' leashes attached to you.
I could do it with Teddy. I could not do it with Jake.
Jake's
Yeah.
just shaking, scared shitless of this RC car. Poor Jake.
Yeah, I know this car's movie. Just, dude, what the hell? What is this?
Why is it making those noises?
He already doesn't like the drag car. I mean, it looks menacing, so I can't blame him. But
It does. It's a baby eater.
yeah, no, probably not ever. I mean, given that it's just not going to happen.
And Adam, you don't have a dog?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Surprises me.
What kind of dog would you have?
Why does that
if you
surprise
had-
you?
Adam would own a pit bull.
If I could have a dog,
Oh yeah,
you would
yeah,
have a pit bull.
yeah. No,
You can't.
no, I wouldn't.
Dude, I couldn't picture you with like the whole like flat bill hat thing and everything. I cannot picture you without a pit bull.
Are you
Yes, the
serious?
flat bill hat is the giveaway.
Yep.
No, that's okay. Sorry if that offends anybody, but that is like one of my least favorite dogs because it's almost like a, it's like a, oh, go figure. Everybody's got, some form of pit bull.
They've been worn out. They're not cool anymore.
No,
That's not true.
I don't know. Ours was what, half pit and half boxer,
Yeah.
but we didn't, like take bro pictures with him with spike collars and shit like you see pit bull
Yeah,
owners do.
no. I used to work with a guy that was like totally like that, and it was the most cringy thing ever listening to him talk about it that way. I'm just like, man, like
Did all he wear
you're doing
was
this for all the
tan dickies and a wife beater?
tan dickies and a wife beater,
That's what
tall socks, and
that's what pit bull owners wear.
Flops.
Pit bull owners wear black socks, Adam, or white tube socks.
yeah, no. Honestly,
it should be generally or you should be aware of people who wear white tube socks around you. If you are near those people, you should not be near them with shorts.
should I not be around myself?
I wear white tube socks with shorts.
Do you both really?
Dude, I have my
Actually, I don't wear white.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I wear black.
Okay, black's fine.
Now,
yeah, black's
now
fine.
I have
Black-
like black and gray, but I mean, I've worn white tube socks with shorts forever. But now I wear
Well,
like gray or black are
Stand.
kind of my new favorite thing.
yeah.
And I actually wear long socks to try and hide my leg, actually, because it's deformed. So that's part of the reason.
I have like these really tall white ones I got from basic training that are super sweet. So I make sure I wear them. Like I have to actually go.
Are they
I know that's
knit
what I get.
herringbone thigh highs?
Yeah.
And they gave you one of those like super like butt crack sweaters that the girls wear on Instagram. With your thigh highs, that's cute, Trav.
Yeah. No, I didn't get all that. I just got my knee high white tubes and my New Balances, and
New Balances
that was it.
and a pack of cools, and they ship you off to war.
It was Air Force. We were a little higher quality.
Okay, skull bandits.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Man.
See what you've been missing, Adam. We have to do this show.
Hey, you guys are the one that bailed on me last week.
Reference to us.
I'm just making sure Adam appreciates our humor. And if he doesn't, then he needs to reevaluate his position here.
The last like 2 weeks, has been like we've decided the day of pretty much that we're not recording or that I will not be recording, and it just happens that way.
Super
so that we just get around to it. Yeah.
We are trying to be better about it, though. That's why we're doing this tonight, and then we can actually get it on Patreon like earlier than promised instead of not at all. So
this is the more responsible way.
But
go racing tomorrow.
Hey, we were creating content though, so really, if Adam's got a problem with it, we were creating content.
But we didn't talk about any of it.
Oh yeah, we talked about your backflips.
That's all that happened Sunday.
Yeah, it did, but it's still something to talk about. We need another question.
You guys want another question?
Let's answer some more questions.
Okay. Travis Angle asks, droop setups, pen springs? If so, what brand of pen do you like to steal the springs from or spend cash on droop shocks?
I typically just rob banks for their pens.
Don't most banks have them tied to the counter? You can't do that anymore?
That doesn't stop me.
I'm sure it does.
I keep it real.
I don't believe you. Okay.
No, I've never done the pen spring mod with that. Like, for whatever reason, the way that I set my rigs up, if they're not like totally full droop, but they're close, but they all still have the regular springs that came on them. So
yeah.
So what's the pen spring thing? I'm out of the loop here.
Okay. So basically, Travis he's been messaging me and he's been asking questions about setting up his cart, and I said if I don't know what it is, because I believe he's also I think closer to the East Coast, but I've heard from a lot of East Coast people right now, they're all about setting up a quote unquote cheater rig, aka belly dragger, and they want to know oh, what's the best chassis, or can I make it out of this? And I kind of told him, I said, when he asked me that question, I said, I used a regular axial SCX-10 chassis. I didn't use anything special. I just adjusted the shocks, went more of what you would call a droop to keep it sucked down. And he goes, well, how do you do that? Well, I sent him a video from YouTube where a guy took one of those, the pens with the 4 colors in it, and he basically took he took each spring out because they're all equal and put it in all underneath the piston, so that way you'd still have the shock pulling down to create the lower ride height and the lower center of gravity, but you'd still have the outer spring, so it's got some sort of rebound when it goes the other direction. So typically what I've done in the past, when I did Michelle's dad's Wraith, I actually went to Ace Hardware and went in the spring section and found springs that would fit, and I was literally sitting there squeezing each one of them to see the kind of how stiff they were, or if they were super soft, to try and say, okay, that seems like it would work, and you just kind of experiment. But I mean, typically any of the clicking ballpoint pens, you can take those springs, and the reason why a lot of people use pen springs is because the pens are almost like the perfect resistance, because it's not too soft but it's not too hard, because you got to remember everybody's supposed to, sorry, there goes my mouse, everybody's you're supposed to be able to click the pen, and if it doesn't click, obviously someone's gonna have a hard time. So your crawler should be more than strong enough to compress that. So that's why everybody uses the pen, and that's what the pen mod typically is called.
Yeah, because the weight of the wheel is what's going to be pulling against that pen spring since it's underneath your piston.
Interesting.
Maybe I'll have to send Travis a video too.
Yeah, I don't know why it's so popular, because I'm not sure if people really need it, and I see a lot of guys replacing good shocks with not so great shocks like Desert Lizards or whatever those boom racing thingies are. And I mean, like a droop setup is good for like just straight up rock crawling, like really serious crawling. But if you like do lots of other stuff with your rig and everything, it's not going to be that great. So I I don't know. I do everything with the stock suspension on my stuff, and it's just fine. I mean, it sits probably 3/4 of the way through its travel, so it's got a little bit of up travel and then a lot more down travel just to keep the tire on the ground. But I don't know. I don't really feel like it's necessary on every rig, but that's just me.
Yeah, and to also answer the other part of that question, like I've also purchased, I think not Incision, Gmade makes a set of shocks. They're called the Transitions, if I'm not mistaken, and those shocks come with an internal spring, just like how you would have one external spring, but they go on the inside and it goes under the piston, and it's just designed to work that way. I have those on one of my trucks, and it works, and it works fine for that rig. Like every rig is really going to be different, and it's going to handle differently. The only thing is, like, if someone's going to go purchase those shocks, I learned the hard way. Don't order. Let's think of it. Like, you almost have to order reverse, if that makes sense. Like when I ordered my first set, I think they were like 96 or 98 millimeters. Well, the problem with that is when you set these shocks up, the 98 millimeter is what it's going to be at its ride height.
Oh, so like fully collapsed, it's 90 millimeters?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So when it extends, it's going to go the opposite direction, so it's going to get a lot longer. So like what you actually have to do is order the size smaller. So like I think it was like 80 something millimeters. So like 81 or 82, I think was what it was, and that's going to be what it's at. It collapsed, and then it'll extend outward. So, just keep that in mind if you're buying those shocks.
Yeah.
So.
Very cool. Okay. His next question was, any advantages of IFS?
Still haven't...
Scale appearance.
Scale appearance, definitely. Side hilling, definitely. Aside from that, I haven't gotten a chance to do any serious crawling with the one I just built, but I kind of just threw everything at it, so we'll see how it does. Just need the time to actually go try it.
Very cool. Okay. If you run small milliamp batteries like 13 to 1500 milliamp, how many do you need for a fun trail day?
Many.
You're going to need a minimum of 4, depending on how long your trail day is.
I'll kill a 5,000 pack in a trail day.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it all really depends, because typically, like on some of my rigs, I can hit, like, let's say, like I've done it before too, crawl for a cure. I've run my smaller battery packs, like my 2,000 to 2,500 milliamp, and I've gone through 2 of those just to get through, 150 gates. So really, it depends on how much you're on the throttle. But if you're going to go that small to like something closer to 1,500, you're going to definitely need a minimum of 4, because the best way to describe it is you're probably going to get anywhere from like 30 to 45 minutes per battery in a crawler on a 1,500 milliamp battery.
Yeah, and if it's a lot of wide open driving, that's going to run them down even quicker.
Yeah.
So if you're like on trails and it's a lot of like, just comfortable walking pace, like you're going to go through batteries like crazy.
And that's also why I said it depends on what you call a fun trail day, because some people are like, oh, I only want to hit the trail for an hour or 2. That's a fun trail day. Well, then you're only going to, I would bring like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Now, if you like, oh, no, I'm going to be out there for 6 hours, well, then you better start packing them.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit more like me. Like a fun trail day for me is like come home after it's dark. So it just kind of depends.
Yeah. Next question is from Greg Thrailkill. Optimal weight of a crawler. I see a lot of people putting mass amounts of brass, and I see a lot of people stripping everything. What applications would you want a light rig, and when would you want a heavy one, and is there a perfect weight?
Man, that is such a relative question because it just depends on what you're doing and where. Like location has so much to do with it.
I mean, I think we can
Well,
say a perfect weight. No,
Yeah, and yeah,
I think
there
I
isn't
think that's
such a
a fair
thing
straight.
there. Yeah, there's an
well,
average weight, but that's whatever.
the only thing I wanted to say was, to me, I've never really found a heavy rig to perform well, period, because it's heavier, so that means it's going to take more to get going, it's going to take more to stop. You're going to be compensating for certain stuff like that. Typically, why your rig gets super heavy. Um, I'm going to use Elio as an example here. He's got some pretty heavy rigs lately, but a lot of that has to do with hard body. He's adding a lot of metal, um, like flat fenders, cages, bumpers, so all that gets heavy. So now to counteract all that, chassis up weight, he's adding weight down to the axles to overcompensate how heavy the body is, and then you end up with like a 10-pound pig when you're done. And it's just like, for crawling, they're just, I mean, he even knows it too. He says it. He goes, there's certain things he looks at it. He goes, I'm not even attempting that because my rig's not going to make it up. Or he's scared to go down it because the thing's just going to like free fall because it's so heavy.
Yeah.
Typically, that's why I've always tried to find, try to keep it light on top. And if you're going to add any weight, add it down low to keep it planted. And that's really my only recommendation.
Yeah, it's kind of same with us. I mean, we touched on this a long time ago, but it like I don't know, the advantage of a light rig, and this was something I noticed just going down to Axial Fest, is like if you run in a lot of dirt, a lighter rig seems to work better because it stays on top of the sand and the dirt better. A heavier rig, as I found out, tends to sink and dig down. But where we live, it's raining a lot. We have a lot of like moss and stuff on rocks and wet surfaces and everything. And so here, a heavier rig performs better just based, because of where we live. But, I don't know. It with a heavy rig, it all depends on where you're putting that weight. I mean, my rigs are all probably around 9, and I only add weights to the wheels, and that's it.
Yeah, like think of it. I mean, that doesn't mean go out and throw 40 grams of brass on each end of the axle. It's like it's all got to be relative. Yeah, I mean, to speak to that is that when we went to Axial Fest, I had a just pretty much bone stock SCX10 with a Recon G6 body, I think is what it was, and pretty much left it the way it was with the IROC tires, and we went down there and it did great at Axial Fest, and then up here it did all right, but it did really good down there.
Yeah,
so it's like it's a lot about where you put it, and not just throwing brass everything you can everywhere. That doesn't help. Yeah, I mean that's really what it comes down to.
Some of it's getting ridiculous now, like brass bumper mounts and stuff. It's like, why in the hell would you ever do that? I mean, it's just the most foolish waste of money. And honestly, it's just these companies that are overseas that are making the stuff like that. They're just preying on people's ignorance because brass is the hot thing right now, and everybody wants to put brass on stuff. So let's make everything brass.
Yeah, right now.
Exactly. Well, and it's a lot of people that are new and don't know any better. We see it all the time on these pages. It's so what brass upgrades do I get? This is my first crawler. So it's a lot of people like that. But I mean,
that's also why we do what we do. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. With there is no perfect like weight or anything like that. Like I've had rigs that are pretty lightweight and they're okay here, but the heavier ones definitely do better. And like I explained, it's just because of where we are geographically. It's just kind of how it is. But most of mine are around 9-ish pounds, I want to say. And I don't know, like there's kind of a checklist I have for when I build something. Like it's got to have an interior. I drive for Proline and all my bodies are Lexan. So, do a Lexan body with an interior. Recently I did some sort of cage in the back. I did like 2 kind of mock truggy builds, and I used plastic cages just for the sake of appearance versus performance. You're always trying to maintain that balance, and so that's why I made the choice to run like plastic honcho style cages on the two trucks that I recently built. So it's just, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's all where you put the weight.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Next question is from Brad Geck. He says, EPX kit installed. What shock angle you guys preferring? Also, what link position in the rear? Well, thank you, Brad.
Thanks, Brad. Link position. Let's see. It's the third hole in from the front. So if you're going left to right, it would be the third hole back on the first row is what I'm running right now. And then as far as shock angle, it's mostly to kind of help set your ride height. Like if you're looking for like, a belly dragger setup, mount them more inboard towards the center of the vehicle. If you need them to be a little bit stiffer and maintain a little bit higher ride height, stand them up straighter. And that's really, I don't know. Do you think anything else, Trav?
No, I think that covers it pretty fair.
I typically am on the shock mounts. I am typically the first set of holes that you come to on them. So they'd be the holes that are closest to the shock towers.
Yeah.
And then up or down depending on what body and everything else is on it. So, but that should be enough to get them started.
Yeah, no, for sure. After that, just fine tuning based off of what he prefers.
Yep.
Next question, or not really a question. It's Elliot. It's the intern.
Intern.
Intern, I'm a wait and see if you talk about your new build and save my questions for next week. If so.
No, I'm not talking about the new build to anybody but...
All right, we'll see you next week.
So am I supposed to, spill the beans on the new build?
No.
Okay.
No, like...
I don't think he's ready yet.
No, you guys... Brad doesn't even know about it yet. Elliot knows, you two know, and Ty knows, and that's it.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool.
All right.
It's going to hurt feelings.
Dan Sutherland asks, how's 3D printing going, Jay?
It's going. I found an awesome file today, and I went to print it, and I could not get it to adhere to the bed for the life of me. And I think it's part of the way it's laid out. It doesn't have a whole lot of supports on it, and so it's basically like falling off the bed and just getting stuck to the head and just dragging around for an hour until I notice it. But it was there was a file on My Mini Factory for $3, and it's 3 different axial interior driver helmets that you can choose from, and 2 of the 3 have the hose fitting for the Parker air pumpers, and there's one on top like you see a lot of the Formula One guys have, and then there's one for on the side to put your fresh air system on. And so I saw those. I was like, oh, that's badass. That would be perfect for the new build. And yeah, it's trying to print like this big helmet on this tiny little pedestal looking thing, and it's just not going to work.
You can't select any supports in your slicer?
If you can, I haven't found where to do it at yet. Like it's that.
What's it called?
It's Creality Slicer, I think is just what it's called. Yeah, okay. Creality Slicer. It is definitely, well, so I have a Ender 3 Pro, and it's definitely like an entry level printer, for like a hobbyist. And I think that the slicing program is catering to people like me that shouldn't be messing with stuff like that in the first place.
I mean, I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
I'll have to look at it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some other settings that you can go into, but you just have the resolution that you want it to print at, where it's like fine, low, high, medium, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you can choose from ABS or PLA, and that's it. There's really... Oh, and you can, as far as like the base, you can have it be a brim or another kind of little whatever that little structure is that it glues down. It lays down that first like kind of mat, that holds everything.
Yeah, the brim.
Yeah, so that's really your only choices, unfortunately. But no, I haven't had a whole lot of chances to play with it yet. But I think that between Trav and I, we can probably get it figured out if next time he's up this direction. But to answer,
I'll download it and see if I can find my way around it.
Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, in answer to your question, it's going.
Sweet. Okay. Douglas Gunter asks, why am I seeing guys slam their no-pret cars? I mean the chassis. Then the arms are all jacked upwards. I would think it would handle like poo, or is it a secret handling thing that I am just not getting? I mean, it really, it's just a lot of it is airflow right now. A lot of it is airflow because, right, I mean, you want to keep as much air going over and around the body as possible, not under it. If you got air going under the car, then you end up with issues like I have.
Where it's getting
right?
trapped.
Or, yeah, the air is trapped, has nowhere to go. I mean, people cut out the rear of their bodies, but it doesn't totally help if you're going wheels up and you can't seem to get it down while you're in the throttle, right? So you have issues like that. That's really what it's about. I mean, it doesn't make it handle any worse. I definitely don't think that, because you got to remember, I mean, these cars were not meant necessarily for going straight. These cars were meant for jumping and turning and all this sort of thing on various surfaces. So, I mean, handling, not really the big concern anyhow, just because we're just trying to get them to go straight. So, but I mean, it's
just trying to control the direction of the airflow.
Yeah, trying to control the direction of the airflow, and then obviously, I mean, any way you can lower your CG of any circumstance is also pretty good too. So I mean, there's definitely no negatives of it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's fun, try it.
Yeah. Jeremy Kim, what do you guys think of the new Enduro? He just bought one today.
Yeah, he did, the lucky dog.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's rad. And I can't wait to have one.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of talked about it when it was released.
Yeah, the thing is,
I think on our opinions of it and everything.
Yeah, we did. No, pretty sweet. I'm glad that he got one. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, I think he's doing an unboxing video or something tomorrow.
Oh, good.
Which will be June 24th, Wednesday.
We should help out and share that for him.
Yeah, I agree. Jason Protocol Martinell, who knows the best setup for overdrive for axial crawlers?
Best setup for overdrive? There's really only one setup. It's either you throw, well, it depends on what rig. If it's an SCX 10.2, they only have overdrive gears for the front axle. If it's the old school, like the Gen 1 style, you could actually do overdrive and underdrive, or do stock in the front, underdrive in the rear. So that's really it.
There's not like a perfect setup, though, because again, it's like what you're doing with it and where you're driving.
Yeah. And what's really funny is it's like I really haven't like ventured back towards the overdrive and underdrive setup since I got away from the Gen 1 stuff.
Yeah, that's what happened with me until the Element came out. Like all of our SCX 10.2s that we had, I never messed with overdrive in any of those. But the original ones, I totally did. But even, once that like Hot Racing 19-tooth pinion or whatever was available, I still never like bought it or anything to overdrive the front end on it too. I just never felt like it needed it.
Exactly. So, so I don't know if that's really, if that helps you at all, but I mean, it really depends on what rig you're using. If, like I said, if you're going Gen 1 style, there's like 3 different ways you can set up the rig. If it's an SCX 10.2, there's really only one, and I'm assuming since they use the same gears from the SCX 10.2 for the 10.3, you'd be in the same boat as far as you could only do overdrive.
Yeah, Element, it's you either have just a 1-to-1 ratio. I think there's like 5% and then 11.86%. I messed with like a 25% overdrive on a HPI Venture, and honestly, the surface that we drive on up here is so grippy. Like it'd climb, but it was so grippy trying to go in between, from obstacle to obstacle, that it was actually starting to bind, and I was smoking motors because of it. So I mean, there can be too much of a good thing, which is overdrive. But no, like I've heard people say that, like with the Element, that if you do a lot of trail stuff, you don't want to have overdrive, but it doesn't create any issues with the 11.86. It's pretty conservative for the most part as far as most people's overdrive setups, and the car turns a lot better with it, and you're gonna be able to climb up even like loose dirt surfaces a little bit better than if it was set up with a 1-to-1 gear ratio. So it no, it just depends on what you're doing with it, but be careful because, like I said, if you're on a high bite surface and you've got a lot of driving from obstacle to obstacle, you can start smoking motors because it will bind, especially if you're, have a lot of traction and sticky tires. So something to look out for.
Sweet. Okay. Our last question comes from Jared Bluen. He asks, do you think we'll see scale interiors in drag cars? How about 4-link solid axle? Travis, I hope you get some, quote, decisive, unquote, victories tomorrow. LOL.
That's awesome.
This guy.
Everybody's a comedian.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, so
That
scale interiors,
rad.
solid axles.
I don't know. Hard to say. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be rad if they came out with some more scale stuff for them. I mean, I'd snatch up an interior in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, the interior thing would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree on that one also.
Plus, it's a really good way to help redirect airflow underneath that body too, because then, if you can try and keep it out of the cab area of the body, that's helpful.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if the solid axle thing had ever happened, but it'd be cool if somebody did it.
I'd like to see it done.
Yeah,
That I would like to see.
It would be really cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent. I don't know what to expect. I don't think it'll happen from a manufacturer.
I'm not expecting it, but I sure would like to see it. I think it'd be sick.
I think someone will do it at some point, but I think the manufacturer just won't do it just because they're going to want to try and do it like everyone else.
Yeah, exactly.
So, hard to blame them. But yeah. A lot of people talked about it in the beginning, though. A lot of people still do.
Yeah.
Really. At least from everything on all the discussion that I've been seeing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But that was our last question. So, that covers it. We actually did pretty well on those.
Yeah, definitely. We had a lot of them.
It didn't take us nearly as long as I thought it would.
Right on.
And I think we're about at that time too. So
we are.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
Awesome. Okay.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. We will catch all of you later.
Yeah. See you.
see you.